Why does the floor move?
Rats. Why did it have to be rats? A Plague Tale Requiem is the sequel to one of my favorite games from 2019, A Plague Tale Innocence. Once again developed by French Asobo Studio, A Plague Tale Requiem released in 2022 for PC and all current-gen consoles, including a cloud version for Switch. With refined and expanded gameplay, a bigger, more realized world, and a darker story, if you can believe it, Requiem is everything I hoped for in a sequel. However, if the first game didn't click with you, the follow-up likely won't win you over. For me, the original game was incredible, telling a deeply emotional story about siblings Amicia and Hugo as they struggle to survive during the Black Plague. A real-life event that's almost unimaginably horrific, with deaths estimated between 25 and 50 million. This backdrop created a sense of bleakness and despair that permeated everything. The story and characters were a real highlight, and while the stealth and combat mechanics were fun, they were somewhat limited. But the standout feature was undoubtedly the rats. We got our first look at this unearthly horde of eyes and teeth during E3 in 2017, and holy crap, a new fear was unlocked that day. Seeing hundreds, if not thousands of screeching and clawing, plague-infested rats move as a single ravenous mass, devouring anything in its path, was nothing short of nightmarish. How in the hell do you top that?
Nobody will attack us here, Hugo. This town is under the protection of the Count of Provence.
In Requiem, we open 6 months after Amicia and Hugo seemingly stopped the blight at the end of Innocence. Their mother and Lucas, an alchemist, join the siblings as they search for answers to Hugo's condition. There's a real sense of hope, but don't get too used to it. A Plague Tale won't be a happy one. Of course, things go downhill, and before you know it, you're ass deep once again in corpses, bloodthirsty guards, and of course, rats. As dark as the first game's story was, it has nothing on Requiem, with moments of absolute hopelessness that hit all the harder when contrasted with the brief glimmers of joy. You'll grow to care deeply for these characters, and knowing just how much they've already struggled, you're desperate for them to succeed. You feel every setback, every betrayal, and every tragedy, and the utter bleakness can be particularly hard to stomach at times. However, even in the darkness of it all, there's beauty in the bond between these characters. To still have each other when all else is lost is a gift. One that's fragile. To say anything more about the story could dip into spoilers. The narrative journey is integral to the experience, and the less you know going in, the better. Intertwined with the story is the gameplay.
You're only making it worse!
Amicia, don't!
You!
I'm tired of being afraid. I'll show them that it's over!
The overall gameplay should be familiar to anyone who played the first game, with a mix of stealth, combat, and puzzle solving. However, every aspect, and I mean everything, has been refined and improved to feel more responsive, engaging, and flexible, giving you more control. Once again, you play as Amicia, navigating the various environments, searching for resources, and trying to avoid getting killed by, well, pretty much everything. You're considerably weaker than anything out there to get you, so you'll generally want to take a stealthy approach. Rarely is taking threats head-on the best option. Stealth in the original, while competent, was fairly restrictive. Often, there was only one right way to get through encounters. However, now you have much more freedom to solve the challenges in a number of different ways, giving a sandbox feel to each situation. Amicia has a suite of tools at her disposal that you can use in and out of combat. The versatile sling makes a return, allowing you to hurl objects to create distractions, solve puzzles, or take out enemies. You have a crossbow to pierce through armor, and you now have limited knives that allow you to stealth kill and open chests, creating a risk-reward decision about whether to use one now to stay alive or hold onto it to get loot later. Your alchemical concoctions make a return with a few additional recipes that you can combine with rocks, pots, or crossbow bolts, each to different effect. You collect ingredients to craft into chemical compounds such as fire starters, extinguishers, and rat bait. but you won't need to scrounge as much to get what you need, like using Ignis for lighting a fire to drive rats away, or Extinguish to put out flames, drawing them in. Additionally, companions can join you out in the world, each with their own special abilities, like how Lucas can help you solve puzzles, or Arnaud can pummel enemies. Hugo's handful of unique abilities connected to his condition make a return, like Echo, which shows enemies through walls, or the ability to control groups of rats to overwhelm enemies. Your two main threats are humans and rats. The humans all have varying armor and weapons, but can take you out easily regardless. You'll have to mix up your tactics for each enemy type in order to distract, stun, blind, or kill them. Just don't plan to make nice. They're all super aggressive once they're aware of you, will call their buddies, and will hunt you relentlessly. It's possible to lose them, finding a new hiding spot and return back to stealth, even after getting spotted. Rats mostly serve as an environmental puzzle, requiring you to figure out how to progress without getting your face chewed off. Similar to the first game, the rats are light-averse, so you're always seeking light sources to keep Amicia and Hugo from becoming a tasty treat. Light is your most important tool for moving rats out of your path. Where things get really interesting is when there are both rats and humans together, serving as a combat puzzle. Yeah, that's never not satisfying. There isn't just one thing that makes this gameplay feel so great, but how all of the systems work together to create freedom and propel you forward. And as your journey progresses, new mechanics and tools are layered in, serving to keep things fresh even with the longer runtime. You'll unlock new skills and abilities that are tailored to your playstyle. By going more stealthy, you'll unlock skills related to sneaking. And if you love to get blood on your hands, you monster, you'll unlock more combat skills. Workbenches also return, allowing you to upgrade your weapons and equipment using the materials you've collected. With all of this new freedom, there are a few quirks, like how hurling explosive pots could disperse rats in unpredictable ways, creating stragglers that can block your progression, or how characters occasionally get, confused by the environment and get stuck on things or get in your way. Ultimately, these are minor gripes that have very little impact on the overall enjoyment.
Good?
Good.
I feel like the rats deserve a bit more love. Aren't they so adorable with their little whiskers, tiny almost human-like hands, those weird thick tails, and their insatiable hunger for human flesh? The rats are this ever-present threat, lurking in the shadows and waiting for an opportunity. The challenge for the developers was in keeping the rats a source of fear and dread, just like in the first game. After all, we now have experience with them and know how to exploit their behavior. Or so we thought. But I wasn't ready for this.
No, run! All of you!
The rats have been cranked up to 11. I thought the swarms were big in Innocence, but damn. The literal tsunamis of millions of rats pouring through the streets makes the first game seem kinda like this. Your butt will pucker seeing waves of rats break through stone walls, pour in and around everything and everyone. Even light can't protect you. You'll rarely feel safe from the rats, but those moments shift from an ever-present dread to a sharp, blinding panic. If you have even the remotest fear of rats, this game will send you over the edge.
Sure. We need some fresh herbs.
As horrific as the rats are, the visuals are equally beautiful. Requiem is disgustingly pretty, absolutely rivaling AAA games for sheer artistic design. Amicia, Hugo, and the rest of the main cast have taken full advantage of the generational leap in hardware, with significantly increased fidelity. But it's not just more pixels. There's also more diverse animations in their movement and more nuance in their expressions. You now feel much more of what they're feeling. And the world itself is absolutely stunning at times. One area in particular, about halfway through, was packed with detail and color, only further immersing me in the story at hand. The development team decided early on to move the setting from the war-torn Aquitaine to Provence, changing the overall color palette. According to lead writer Sébastien Reynard, this shift created a sharper contrast between the harsh reality of the medieval setting, in which terrible events are happening, and the beautiful, sometimes uncharted environments. There are these sections of beauty and peace seared into my mind, like when you're free to casually explore a Mediterranean island. At one point, Hugo sees a tower and wants to climb it. There's no point other than to remind you that Hugo is a child, and climbing is one of those simple joys as a child.
Towers are the best, because you can climb them.
In spite of all the horrors, these moments are the most profound. But Requiem isn't afraid to shower the world in gore, death, and of course, rats. The rat mobs are even more impressive, with all of their individual bodies writhing as one cohesive mass. Asobo didn't shy away from flooding the screen any chance they got, and the destruction they laid in their waste is jaw-dropping. One last visual highlight is the lighting. Light takes a particularly important role in the gameplay, and the way it's used both as fixed and dynamic sources is consistently impressive. Navigating the darkness with a torch bobbing and swaying, watching the rats ebb and flow just out of light's touch is almost hypnotic. The visuals are complemented by the incredible soundtrack. Olivier Derivière returned to compose the orchestral arrangements, with performances from talents like Eric Maria Couturier, known for work on Vampire, and the Estonian Philharmonic Chamber Choir. The tracks are layered, complex, and often quite haunting. The music also serves to elevate particularly harrowing or thrilling scenes, with its impatient rhythms.
Where's your leader? Where's this hero? Come face me!
Voice actors Robin Wolfe and Chloe Lewis deliver powerful performances as Amicia and Hugo, breathing life into these two characters, making them feel real. Robin's performance was even nominated for an award by the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers.
That the worst was behind.
We all hoped it was.
But what are we gonna tell him now? That the rats are back? That the bite has killed hundreds? And this new home that he likes is already dying. I'm not ready for this.
No one could be ready for this.
For completionists, you'll earn the vast majority of trophies simply by playing through the story. However, you'll need to plan for 2 playthroughs. There are some collectible trophies that, if you missed the first time through, can go back and find through the chapter select. The second playthrough in New Game Plus is needed to max out all your skills and upgrades. So if you focused on stealth in your first run, you'll want to go aggressive in the second. All in, I'd expect around 25 hours to do everything.
Well, thank you, Anna.
I really love the AA space. Think of games like Hellblade, It Takes Two, or Hades, where the development teams have to make decisions and prioritize what's most important for realizing their vision. And I think the team at Asobo made the right decisions with A Plague Tale Requiem, building upon the incredibly strong foundation laid by its predecessor. The world is bigger and more beautiful, the gameplay is expanded and refined, and the threats are more dire. But most importantly, the characters are more real and complex. They serve as the anchor upon which everything else is held. When it comes to those you love, there's no amount of rats you won't overcome.
I'm sorry for, well, everything.
If you like what you saw, hit like and of course subscribe. And if you want another game that you haven't played, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.